In this video, we'll talk about how green card holders, conditional and non-conditional, can prove that their marriage is real. And this is really important now that more interviews are being waived. You need to know what to include in your file to make sure that you're able to communicate with immigration and show them the legitimacy of your marriage. So if you're interested in this topic, I'll see you on the other side. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Immigration Channel. This is a place where we get the most up-to-date immigration news, immigration information, and everything else that you need to make your immigration journey less stressful. My name is Jacob Sapochnick, and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California. And I help clients in all 50 states and all around the globe. And in this video specifically, if you're a conditional green card holder and you're about to remove your conditions, we'll show you how you can document your case strong enough so you can show immigration that your marriage is real and bona fide. This is really important right now because now they're waiving a lot of these interviews, and some of these documents that most people don't think about, they don't include in their applications, and as a result, they may be called for an interview. But if you include those documents, if you're able to be aware of the red flags that we're going to mention in this video, so make sure you watch this video until the end. I'm going to talk about at least 10 red flags that could alert an immigration officer to be concerned about your case and call you for an interview. So before we do that, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. So how do you prove that your marriage is real and legitimate? So the immigration officers will hopefully waive your interview for your 751 application removal of conditions. As a way of reminder, when you apply for a green card and you married less than 2 years, you only get a 2-year green card. It's a 2-year conditional green card. It's just like a regular green card, but it only expires after 2 years. And then 90 days before that 2-year green card is going to expire, you have to file a new application on Form I-751. That is the removal of condition applications. Typically, a lot of these cases are being referred for an interview where they're going to question you again and find out whether this marriage is legitimate. But recently, under a new policy change, there's a link in the description of this video about another video that we've done announcing this new policy about interview waivers. And in that video, I mentioned some of these factors that the USCIS officers are looking for when they're making a decision if somebody should get an interview waived or not. And in this video, I'll talk specifically about some of these factors, what they're looking for, what are some of the red flags, and how you can document your case to show that your marriage is bona fide and legitimate. And remember, the burden of proof in these cases is on you. Whatever you present to them, they're going to take it. And even if you have a lot of things going for you, and even if you have traveled the world and you've done so many things, if you don't show it to the government, they're not going to know about it. And if your file is not documented enough, it's going to be a problem and you may be called for an interview. But let's talk about some of the red flags that are general red flags that could prompt an officer to be more suspicious about your case and either call you for an interview or request more evidence before they can make a decision. Number one, a large age difference. Whether you consider it to be old-fashioned or traditional, a large age difference is still a red flag for a lot of immigration officers, and specifically where the male applicant is younger than the female applicant. We've seen many cases that applicants were called for an interview just because of their age. And while it's unfair, it is what it is. So remember, if you're trying to get your interview waived, if you have a large age difference, try to document your case even more. Add more documents, more information, more affidavits, things that can show the officer that yes, there is a large age difference, but it is still a real and bona fide marriage. Number two, when the petitioner and the beneficiary are not able to speak the same language, to the point where it's very difficult for them to communicate. And again, when you go through an interview, especially in the first green card interview, the officers will make notes. And they're going to say, they hardly are able to communicate. And so when you go to remove the conditions on the green card, whoever gets your file, they're going to see that. And they're going to be curious to know what's going on. Did he or she improve their language in 2 years? And if so, you need to provide evidence to that. Because remember, if at the first interview it was determined that you have an ability to speak to each other, your job is to show them that now that you remove conditions, things have improved. A very big difference in cultural and ethnic backgrounds. And remember, there are some cultures that it's very difficult to accept the fact that they're going to be with somebody outside of their tribe, outside of the culture. If that is the case in your case, it's important to explain why it's normal, why it's working for you, and why everybody around you are accepting it or not. Whatever the case is, you have to explain it so it's clear to the officers that while it may be different, may be strange for them, it is working for you, and that's how it is. So remember, it flows from the first green card interview to the second green card interview. You want to keep it consistent. Whatever that is, you keep it consistent, but remember, that difference could be a red flag for some officers who are aware of that. Not everybody is aware of these cultural differences, but those that do will bring it up as an issue. Number 4, when family and friends are unaware or don't know about the marriage. So for example, if you went through a first interview and they asked you the question, your parents are aware of this, and you said no because you were honest, which is great, that issue may come back again 2 years later. Well, do they know now? Did you tell more people? And if you didn't, and it's unclear to the officer that more people are aware of this marriage, it could be a red flag, and you're going to have to explain that in person at an interview. So think about that when presenting a case like that, where there's no too much information about your relationships and you keep it to yourself. Number 5, when this marriage happened fast because of an immigration event. So for example, let's say you were here on a tourist visa, your tourist visa was going to expire on Thursday, you got married on a Wednesday. When they see that there's some kind of an event that happened with your immigration status and you got married right before that, that could be a reason to question you further. It's a red flag. This happened a lot with people that got their first green card because it looks like they're really married just to be able to stay here. Now the question is, are they really together? What happened in those past 2 years? Again, it's up to you to document that and to show them that yes, we married fast because we didn't want to overstay, but we're a real couple and here's what we have to prove that. So keep that in mind, that could be a red flag. If your marriage filing happened literally just before something happened with your status, you need to explain that now, 2 years later, why it's still working for you, this relationship. 6, when there is discrepancies in information that is provided by the husband or wife, specifically coming from the first interview, and those discrepancies were not able to be explained properly, it will carry over to your second case, the removal of conditions. So for example, if it was very, if there was not enough information about how you proposed or who came to the wedding, they may want to question you further, they may want to know what's going on. So it is going to be up to you. Documents more affidavits to show that this is a real bona fide relationship, and these inconsistencies, these discrepancies are a thing of the past. Number 7, you're not living together since you got married, and you haven't lived together for the past 2 years. Now, there are many cases where people have a logical and reasonable explanation. Maybe school, studies. We have a lot of physicians that we work with, and they have residency in different states, and their spouses cannot go with them. Whatever the reason is, it is a red flag, and they're going to want to see you for an interview to explain it. So if you've not been living together for 2 years, and you continue to live separately, expect an interview no matter what. Number 8, when the beneficiary is either a friend of the family or a close relative, cousin, third, fourth cousin. When we have that kind of relationship and it was revealed in the first green card, they'll continue to question the relationship in the second green card, because obviously friends, they provide benefits to each other, so maybe it was they want to know if it was a real marriage or not, so be careful of that. If the beneficiary is a friend of the family or a relative, it could be a reason, a red flag for them to question the case even further. Number 9, if the U.S. citizen petitioner filed previous applications for green cards for other spouses in the past, and those didn't work out, those could be also red flags in the first green card interview, which will carry over to the removal of conditions, and they're going to want to check what's going on. Is he doing it as a matter of practice? Are those real marriages? So remember that when we have that kind of pattern, unless you can explain it in an affidavit before you file the case, so the officer will read it and say, oh, that makes sense. If you can't do that, you most likely will be called for your second interview. And finally, if it's discovered that this marriage was arranged by a third party, by a friend, by somebody that you don't know, that is definitely a red flag. If they find out, or if you disclose it, trust me, they'll call you for a second interview. So these are some of the red flags that we've seen in the past that the immigration may want to know. So just be aware of that. How do you prove that your marriage is real and legitimate? Your goal is to collect documents in different categories. We're going to focus on a few of these categories. Category number 1 is evidence that you're either raising children or you have pets together. So, for example, when you have children, obviously the name should be on the birth certificate of both parents. When you're raising pets together, your documents should indicate that you both have authority to talk to the vet. If you do have that kind of relationship, if you do have that kind of responsibility, if you do have that kind of responsibility, that's going to really help you a lot in your case. And anything related to that, to the children or your common pets together, is going to be very helpful in the removal of conditions case, and hopefully avoiding a second interview. Number 2 is evidence of cohabitation. They want to see that you live together. What do you have to show for? What documents can you prove that you live together? The lease, the mortgage, any bills with both names. Those are the things that they really want to see. And if there is no cohabitation together, you will have a second interview. Number 3 is evidence that you commingle your assets. You have joint bank accounts, joint credit cards, maybe you purchase something big together, maybe you have investment accounts, insurance. They want to see commingling of your assets. If you provide to them a checking account, make sure you use this account. They want to see that you use it on a daily basis. If you provide a checking account with both names on it, and there's only a movement once a month, nobody's going to believe that it's a joint account. Nobody's going to believe that you really are living together or commingling your assets, and you will be called for a second interview. So be aware of that. And number 4, evidence that you actually spend time together, that you are actually a couple. Travel, pictures on a weekend, maybe you've done some events, plane tickets from traveling abroad or locally, events, any big concerts, anything like that that show that you actually spend time together as a couple is seriously important. And if you don't have that, you're not going to pass your interview. The important thing when you file the application to remove conditions is you need to have affidavits. Affidavits are these documents that state that people know about your relationship, they know about the quality of your relationship. It's very important that these affidavits all be detailed. They explain how the person knows you, when they spend time with you together, and maybe describe a few incidents of them being with you, maybe for the holidays or for something else. These affidavits are really essential for the removal of condition applications. But to summarize that, if you can prove that you are in a legitimate, if you can prove that you're in a legitimate relationship, if you don't have any other issues like criminal record, any assumptions of fraud or misrepresentation, if you document your case sufficiently, like I mentioned in this video, most likely your interview will be waived and you're going to get your card in the mail without an interview. And that's a big deal for a lot of people because it's going to save you time, hassle, and the anxiety of going to a removal of conditions interview. So hopefully this information was helpful. This is based on new information that we got from USCIS, changes to their policy manual, where they're now authorizing USCIS officers to waive more of these green card interviews as long as you follow the instructions and the advice in this video. Thank you for watching, and again, if you need my help with any of these cases, text me right here, 619-483-4549, and also leave me a comment below to let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.